Joshua Porte was my grandfather. He died years ago. And then Julius Porte is my dad. That's so much that I know, and I know Evelyn Porte is my grandmother. I remember her. I think I was 6 or 7 when she died. She was very beautiful. Married to Jackie Yango. She's a Yango. Now she's Jackie Porte. And my kids are Icklin is the youngest. I have one name for Sean, Dwight, and Darren. Those are 4 boys and 1 girl. From what I heard from my aunt Alberta, who raised me, and Aunt Bernice, and my aunt and older brother and sister, I was told that he was a farmer and he did transportation. So he did, I think one of my sisters told me he did a lot of rum. He had a King Jew factory or something. He did that, and then he did a lot of farming. He did a lot of transport of market women to and fro around Banga, Crozierville, Margibi, throughout the length and breadth of Liberia, I heard. The happy memory is just being a Liberian, to tell you the truth, and the culture, the holidays, the visit up country, the visits of family and friends, the history, and just learning from people who you idolize. One of the happiest moments was going to school. I always thought school was important. I was one of those people who just hated Fridays because I didn't want Friday to come. I just wanted to just be in school and keep learning or doing stuff and just making friends, and the sporting events were one of the things I liked, but the most of all is family time. Those were the happy moments for me in Liberia. I mean, we're coming from a large family, so those were some of the happy moments for me, the celebration of family and friends. Currently, I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing, and I worked my way up from the bottom up. I love it. It's a career that's around for a long time. It won't go away. I'm currently working pediatric nursing. A lot of people wonder why I get into peds. It's just, something that I did geriatrics for a while. I did long-term for a while, did rehab for a while. And it was just a call to get into pediatric nursing. Aunt who raised me, Alberta Johnson, of course you know her, was a midwife of Mama Point. I never envisioned that I was going to be into nursing. I always wanted to be a journalist until I came to the States, and then I had an uncle, and of course Aunt Alberta was in the nursing home, and my uncle, I went to visit him, I think about 6 months after I arrived in the States. And then he was being cared for by providers. And then he asked me, like, so Dwight, you're here, what you gonna do? And I'm like, oh, I wanna be a journalist, uncle. He like, for real? He said, look around. I'm like, okay, he just asked me off the back. I'm like, okay, what are you talking about? He said, I'm in this bed. I used to weigh 180 pounds. I'm now to 92 pounds. What do you see? He said, I think you should give back, because, there were healthcare providers there with him. And I came back and I'm like, yeah, it made some sense. So I started, and then fast forward, my aunt died. And at the time I wasn't up into the profession, and then it kicked back to me. I'm like, you know what Uncle Victor said, maybe it's what I need to do. And then I went ahead and started taking classes, and I think it was just all about emotions and giving back. And what he said to me motivated me to get into a healthcare profession. And it's where I've been. My wife and daughter influenced me the most, to tell you the truth. I know my daughter is young, but she influenced me, But if we have to go into my upbringing, I would say my aunt who raised me, I still use her quotes every day, every now and then. They all have these quotes from, I don't know whether it's from the Barbados or it's just something that they grew up and they just come with all kinds of quotes. The southern shower bring the goat and sheep together. You take the horse to the creek, you can't force it to drink, you know, and that's what I'm influenced by, to tell you the truth. My upbringing, I'm influenced by my upbringing. I came up, you know, very well, well-rounded, and the thing that influenced me the most is this one word, result. That I'm able to find results to things when they happen. And my faith influenced me a lot, and my work ethics influenced me a lot, and few friends influenced me a lot based on our conversations, but wholeheartedly my wife and daughter influenced me. Yeah, I did a lot of visit. I always went up there with Anna Berta and Bernice. Most of our visit had to center around family reunions. And we went up to Christchurch, attended about 3 or 4 funerals. One I remember was Cousin Abel's funeral. I went up there too. And then my grandfather's funeral. I remember that I was much older. And it was always beautiful. I mean, the drive up to Crozierville was just beautiful. Lemongrass tree, and whenever we got up there, it had to do with Dummer. And the brother loved Dummer with Kittle, Billabong, Okra, Benency, the whole 9 yards. It was beautiful. The scenery in Crozierville is breathtaking. I mean, I wish, you know, we can do more to improve that, you know, that area of Liberia. But I remember it was always, interestingly, my most recent visit there was, before coming to the States, was during the war. We sought refuge there, and then we later on moved on to Toby. But my most recent visit was just in 2018. And then I will get into that later why I went there. That was after, you know, when I came to the States and went back. One, you have to respect people within your family. Another, you have to respect everybody within your surrounding. You have to work hard. I mean, I think, and I always tell people that if you go up and down the chain or the list of government jobs, you don't find many ports there, because we work hard for what we have to get in life. Nothing is handed to you. I'm from a generation that you have to work hard to get where you want to go. You have to pursue it. You have to be focused. You have to be determined. And those are the things that I look at to be successful. Yeah, after being here for a while, you know, my wife and I decided that we needed to go back and do some investments. So I went home. We had a property area to go in. Then it was just around the, just about a month or so, or 3 months before Ebola. And I was sitting, of course, the guy that drove me around, he had some mechanical problems, so we decided to go and have the car fixed. And then I was sitting on a little tree waiting, and then just in that time, a little boy walked by with bananas in the you know, that little tray we have back home that kids sell bananas in. So, and he came and he saw, I'm like, I just asked him, I said, why are you not in school? He was like, oh, my mom and pa not pay my school fee. You know, our little vernacular, our little colloquial there. And I said, why? He said, oh, they ain't got money. So I'm like, okay. I said, but how much are the bananas? I think he said something like $8 Liberian dollars. So I gave him 10 US dollars. I said, okay, I want all of the bananas. And interestingly, he ran back to the mechanic who was repairing the car, and wanted to find out the mechanic is his dad. And the dad came on to me and, you know, so excited, oh, now my son can go to school. I'm like, how much is the school fee? He said, oh, $10. I'm like, So, you know, the little kid and I, 8 years at the time, he and I struck a conversation. He sat with me, and then I asked him what he wanted to become, you know, when he grew up. He couldn't tell me. And that really hit me, because I knew growing up, by the time I was 8 or 9 years old, I knew what I wanted to become, you know. And right then and there, I just, you know, he and I sat and had a conversation, and it just came out of nowhere. I said, you know what, maybe we need to start a charity. I called my wife and daughter and I said, this is what I think we need to do here. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, we came to invest, but I think we need to, get into charity work. And they're like, how are you gonna do that? I'm like, we just gonna start something. And that's when I came back, I just put pen to paper and I figured out a name. I'm like, you know what? I think we're gonna call it the Port Liberia's Child Initiatives, PLCI, and that's how it went. I came back and we started doing some work. And then we had a land in Crozierville, and I said, well, you know what? Since this kid told me that he didn't know what he wanted to become, I think we can do a library. And then we had a library, we started doing bricks and everything. We got a architect to put a plan together. And just in that time, 3 months or 4 months later, we got a call from the commissioner at the time, Thorpe. And Thorpe said, well, Dwight, you're gonna be building a school, a library here. But we got a village back there between Crozierville and Bensonville. Yeah, the villagers want you to, if you can give you a land, if you can just build a school for them. It was like a pipe dream. I'm like, build a school. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, you haven't heard the story. I'm like, no, what? He said, well, the villagers back there have been, complaining that whenever they send their kids to school, the kids get missing. So they're not sending their kids to school anymore. I'm like, no, that can't be right. He said, yeah, it was in the paper. So we just had a conversation, and my brother-in-law at the time was very instrumental. He's deceased now, may his soul rest in peace. Morris Guavacoli. And he went there and saw the land. He said, oh, Dokpa, I think we can do this. I'm like, you sure? He's like, yeah. So I planned a trip, went back later on, and we broke grounds, and that's how we started the school work. And we asked for funds from friends and family. Some friends came along, some friends didn't, some family came along, some families didn't. And we were able to build a school in our village. The important things I learned that you have to fulfill a dream, no matter the obstacles. If you set it, you have to complete it. And the criticism will come from all walks of life. And you just have to keep focused. The important things is just you have to remain level-headed. That they will come at you because, and one of the things I learned about our people, especially Liberians, if it's not them, it shouldn't be you. But you have to keep focused. And I think maybe one of the things that maybe is genetics, maybe is how I got to find out that people from the Barbados just hop on a boat or hop on a ship and took that long voyage to a place that he never knew. And I think that's one of the things that kept me going, because maybe I did it subconsciously that, I had my ancestor do the same thing. So I'm taking on this journey. I mean, I know other Liberians have done the same, but it's just that my path was different. I had people tell me, oh, why did you name it Port? Like, why did you put your Port name on it? Maybe if you don't put your Port name on it, people will gravitate. I'm like, well, because it's my dream. It's my family's dream. So that's some of the points I learned, and I would tell anybody, if you're doing this kind of work, you just have to keep focused. The important piece of the school, like I said earlier, we didn't reach it to the level that we wanted, and we still have the foundation for the other 6th grade level. And a lot of friends have asked me, Dwight, so what are your intentions? And like I told you earlier, we have kids that are in that village. The age range of the kids is like between, the youngest now I think is like probably a year, the oldest is in the teens, 13, 14. You can't put them in 1st grade, especially the 13, 14-year-olds. So the goal here would be to have these younger kids come in the morning from 1st to 6th grade, and in the afternoon, like maybe around 1-ish, you can have the older kids come and learn vocational skills, carpentry, masonry, agriculture. And then that's the goal, that's the long range goal. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me, but then we still have to finish that other, 6 classroom, and that's one of the things we're trying to pitch. And the COVID came in now, so we have to wait a little bit to do some other fundraisers, and maybe like my wife and I always say, maybe now that people see a structure, they will believe the dream and be able to help. So hopefully through this interview, through this accessory documentary, people will know that, you know, a family of theirs is doing something and we all can come together. The name should ring a bell, you know, Port Liberia's Child Initiatives. And hopefully that will, you know, galvanize other folks to join the process. And it don't have to be just that one school. Crozierville, Bensonville, all of those areas, they still have a lot of lands, you know, and it's just a matter of returning and doing what's best for our community. So it was a tough battle. I will tell you, my wife and I, my daughter, we didn't have holidays. We didn't celebrate birthdays. My wife, when she ever asked me for what I wanted for birthday, I would tell her, oh, I want a load of sand. Or my daughter would ask, what do you want? I'm like, Mommy, you can give me 10 bags of cement. So it was always an uphill battle, but you know, it was a tax, and I still felt it was something we had to do to give back, even in the little way. And we broke grounds in 2016, and by the grace of God, we were able to, the goal was to have a 12th grade classroom, 12 classroom size building, but hey, we couldn't make it, so we stopped right at the 6th grade level. So hopefully those kids, there will be some kids who never stepped foot in a classroom, and by what we did, they will be able to walk in the classroom for the first time when school opens. We had chairs put in, we had it open up in May. It was opened up in May, and by Mr. Cummings, and we named it the Zoya Academy after my daughter, because she had been one of those, Daddy, you've been trying to build this school. I want that school built before I go to college. She wanted it as a graduation present. So it was meaningful to her, and she just graduated in May, and then the following week we opened up the school, and the school is there, the Zoya Academy. And we are proud that we were able to do something as our family to give back to that community. Well, as far as impact, at least it will give kids in that area hope. And I always bring this to my life, because as the story goes, before my dad died, he, you know, brought me and my sister to Monrovia and gave us to our aunts and said, you guys gonna raise them. And whenever I go to that village and I see kids there with no school, it just reflects to me that it could have been me if it was not the farsightedness of my dad before he died to bring me to the city. I probably would have been a man sitting in the village there cutting palm nuts or cutting wood to burn coal. So I'm thinking that if we as an organization, the Port Liberia's Child Initiative, can impact 3 or 4 or 10 kids' lives in that village and teach them that school and education is another way outside of just, you know, being a village, that's the impact we want to make. That 20 years from now, 40 years from now, a kid may sit down in their living room, as I'm doing right now, and tell the story that a family came there and was able to help them learn to read and write, and they were able to leave and go into the city and further their education, and maybe come to the West or go to Asia. And we just want to give back. We have to come together and do something for that place. Again, it comes back to the ancestors who got on that voyage and came with nothing, but they were able to build a settlement. The church is still there. The family cemeteries are still there. I'm sure if you go digging a foundation to build a house, you'll find some old cook spoons and stuff that they came with. So how do we continue to build on what they started? We that live in the diaspora, we come together and put our resources together. Crozierville could be the next vacation spot. So our ancestors that came before can know that, hey, these people are coming back to a place that we came and we started from nothing. They laid the foundation. We just have to continue putting bricks upon bricks upon bricks and turn Crozierville and the rest of the other settlements that the people from the Barbados went to. And you know, it take one little inch, and next thing you know, you're building a community. We can't forget from where we came from. And I hope at the end of the day, this documentary, throw lights on some of the things. Because I know you're going to interview more and more people, and they're probably going to have the same idea, but it's just that bringing the idea under an umbrella and look at it as a vision. So you start from the idea, and then it becomes a vision, and then we have to fulfill that vision and dream. Because remember now, they came with nothing, and we are the ones now that have everything. So I believe they want to be remembered that they started a foundation and we finished it. Finish that foundation and raise more floors and more floors on that one foundation. So all in all, I think they want to be remembered that they did something. And we are trying to continue what they started. I remember growing up, my aunt and family, they had this close bond. Remember now, these people, yeah, they had a little telephone in the home, not everybody had it, but they still had that sense of connectivity. It's important to continue this accessory documentation in this lineage because we are going further and further and further apart. My daughter heads out to college. For some odd reason, she might meet someone who is of her family that she's never met. So this is the question here. Why with all this technology that we have in this great country or in this great West, that the family continue to drift further and further and further apart? There's so many posts on Facebook. I think if I look at my friend list, I think I got about almost close to 200 posts. But very few of them I can connect to which port it is, because most of them come in my inbox and which port are you? They will tell me, oh, I'm the port from Buchanan, I'm the port from Banga, So see why this is important? Because we want to have that bond, we want to have that connection. And hopefully when we have that connection, we can build bigger and better things, and we can dream and we can build better together.